Hey guys, Chad again here. So, obviously recorded on the same night, so the sound issue still hasn't been resolved. I think it might be that I need to plug a USB microphone in so that I can get the best sound, because then the USB will tie up with this thing and just make things infinitely easier. I tend to do most of my sound using 3.5mm stereo, so what happens is that the sound doesn't actually get through to this computer, which is the webcam that's attached to. It actually gets through to that computer, so maybe I need to record it on that machine. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about an event that occurred not that long ago. A couple of weeks or so ago, I went to Southampton to the Hobbit pub to meet up with the likes of Jesse Cox and also Dodger Lee. I had a brain fart there. Why can't I remember Dodger's name? Sorry, she'll kill me. And Erin. Now, these guys had come over for an entire week in the UK and then moving on to Gemicon. Obviously Erin couldn't go to Gemicon, so it was just Dodger and Jesse. So they tweeted that they were going to meet there, and I thought to myself, that would be might be a once in a lifetime chance. You never know if you're going to get to meet them again, never know what's going to happen down the road, so why not go for it? So that's what I did, and got the half day off. And it was a 2.5-hour drive from where I live down to Southampton. So now, for those of you who follow people who are have a lot of followers on Twitter, one of the hardest things to get done is to kind of get your voice seen. So you know, you got all these people who follow them, all these people who do this kind of thing, and so to get your voice known, just to get a little bit of information, and you can't send them a PM because they're not following you, so because you can't expect them to follow all of their followers. Makes sense. So I was trying to get an idea of what the time would be when I went down to Southampton, so I could time it all right for a 2.5-hour journey, all that kind of stuff, and I wasn't getting an answer. So I thought, what the hell, I'll plan it for about 5:30, that sort of thing. And on my way down, they tweeted they're going to meet at 7, so I was like, yep, fine, I'll sit in the pub, read a book, listen to my iPhone, and just chill. And about 6 o'clock they turned up, and we all said hello, the people that were there, and then they said they were starving, so they went down the road to the nearby eating emporium known as Chick-O-Land, and then came back and sat down and ate their English food, so a combination of chips with mayonnaise, tomato sauce on them, and kebabs. And I can only imagine how weird that must have been, because these guys were surrounded by a sort of semicircle of guys essentially watching them eat. So just like, but you know, anyway. So that happened, and we then just, you know, got down to the usual fare of English pub going and proceeded to get completely lashed. I didn't, but obviously I had to remain sober because I was driving. And so we, you know, over the course of time, you know, you'd see people sort of dot around, and then they'd talk to the various sort of three parties of the TGS trio, I suppose you could say, the three amigos, and they would all move around and stuff like that. And towards sort of middle of the evening, I happened to be standing nearby, and Dodger was sort of like to my right. And so what happened is that people started queuing up to essentially get a picture with Dodger, get a signature, you know, autograph, all that kind of stuff. And so I kind of was standing there, and I was just standing there, you know, just saying, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. I ended up acting as a buffer between Dodger and the line. And so I saw that, you know, people were sort of getting a little bit sort of rowdy, I suppose you could say, and there was, you know, alcohol involved, so people were getting a little drunk. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, right, they're forming a queue, so let's organise this, let's do this properly, so that everyone can get their little moment of fame, so to speak, in their time with Dodger. So I kind of took it upon myself to be essentially the chaperone, maybe, I don't know, but I ended up becoming the Dodger wrangler for the evening. Now, I did say to her at one point I kind of felt a little bit like a pimp, but Dodger wrangler is the more polite and gentlemanly term. So that ended up being very enjoyable, just chatting to Dodger, make sure she was doing all right, and she obviously would be signing photographs, and it'd be like, next, and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people had friends with them, so they take pictures and all this, but some of them didn't have a friend with them who could take the picture, so I ended up taking the pictures of Dodger and said person. So what happened then was that I think I ended up taking up more pictures of Dodger than probably her own family have got of her, so it's very strange. So, but not to say it wasn't wonderful. I got some good shots in there. I hope the guys who got those shots were very happy with them. Obviously I had a few technical problems with the phones because I wasn't familiar, so I pressed the wrong button and it'd switch it off instead of taking the picture. So you can blame me for that, nobody else. And so obviously not being fit, I know to pace myself, so sat down in one of the areas with a table and some chairs and stuff like that, and just chilled and relaxed and, you know, observed everybody around me, so to speak. Erin then came down, sat down, joined me, and we started chatting. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with her channel or never met her, this is a girl who never seems to stop smiling. Its happiness just seems to explode out of this girl like nothing I've ever seen. It was fantastic to chat and get to know her and talk about silly things, and then talk about stuff like, I mean, she's big into manga and stuff like that, and it never really interested me, but, you know, she kind of chatted about it and we discussed it and all that kind of stuff, and it was just nice, you know. And I was continuing chatting and then had Dodger join us. So I had Erin sitting opposite and Dodger sitting next to me, and we were just chatting about stuff. And Dodger is exactly like you see in the videos. She is warm, she is approachable, she's interested in people, she likes to get to know people. So we had a lot of chats, we talked about Sherlock Cat and all that kind of stuff, and LA, and you know, some of the cats that I had when I was younger and stuff like that. Now, the table where we were sitting was used as kind of like a dumping ground for all the stuff that the TGS guys were being given. So there was a large pile of stuff, and one thing that was quite funny that kind of made me laugh is that stuff kept falling off, and Dodger obviously was looking down and said, oh god, that keeps falling off, better pick that up. And she'd pick it up and she kept banging into me. So eventually it got to a situation where she kept doing that. I said, Dodger, can you do me a favour, can you stop banging my arm with your butt, because it's really off-putting? And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, major sarcasm. She's just like, oh, I'm sorry to have offended you and all the rest of it. But yeah, it was just like, you know, it was a funny moment of, you know, madam, watch where you stick your butt, please. But it was quite a funny moment, and it, you know, it turned out to be a good rest of the evening. Later on in the evening, Jessie came down, sat with us, chatted about all sorts of things, YouTube, about life in general and stuff like that. And Jessie is the kind of person that makes you enjoy life, really. He's the kind of person where personality just exudes from him. He's exactly the same in real life as he is in his videos. Obviously, in this real life, he was kind of smashed off his baps. He had the fellowship, as in the drink, not the actual fellowship. That's a video of a different kind. And he was pretty slaughtered, but he was loving every minute of it. And those of you that have seen the video of the sing-along, the guys, they were just loving every minute of it, meeting all their fans, and you know, just having a pleasant evening. And I've always thought it's a bit strange because you know, with celebrity, you've got all these people who kind of know a lot about your life, and you know nothing about them, absolutely nothing, except that they like you, and they like you based on what they see. So it kind of, I don't know if it's like a false connection or something along those lines, but the same way that nurses have that kind of, it gives a false impression of intimacy and connection that doesn't actually exist. It's because, you know, you see somebody and all the rest of it. So it was, I can only imagine how weird it must have been for them to meet all these people who knew them but they didn't know them. But also kind of cool, because you get to meet all these people you've never met. They know you. You're kind of on a winner because you know they like you, so you don't have to worry about pissing them off or anything like that too much. But then you get to meet all these people, and you get to learn about these people, and you get to learn their stories, and, you know, learn about their life, and learn about what they do, and what games they enjoy, and what excites them, what, you know, just kind of blows their skirt up, either intellectually or game wise, or just anything. Films can be anything. And so I imagine it's a difficult situation to be into, but also probably a rewarding one. And I hope, if I am lucky enough to end up in the same situation, that I will be as laid back and as thoughtful and as happy as the TGS3 were. It was a wonderful evening. I left the pub at 2 AM, so I had a 2.5 hour drive home. I got home at 4:30 AM, and then I was up for work at 7:30 AM. So let's just say that that particular morning at work was not pretty. I felt like a vampire on a day pass. It was not a good day. And literally as soon as I got home that evening, it was just like, oh, bed. And that was it. I was gone. So it's just a little vlog to say this is what happened, this is who I met, this is how much fun I had, and just a personal thank you from me to Dodger and Jesse and Erin for coming over to England and agreeing to meet up with loads of fans and being as honest and upfront and genuine as they are in their videos. I think that's all that anybody could possibly ask, especially with so much fakery on YouTube and on television and everything relating to media. It's a pleasant surprise, and it is much needed. So my thank you, Dodger, Erin, Jesse, thank you. It's been great fun, and I look forward to seeing you again. Take care, everyone.